can see the start of the boot characteristics of the 3 LEDs on the CPU board of a Johnny Mnemonic that came to me along with the driver board. Also on my bench, we have booted, and we're getting a message that we get when we don't have a battery backup for the RAM that is on board. As you can see, the client has indicated that he does not want NVRAM, so I put that note on there to prevent myself from routinely replacing the RAM with NVRAM, which I almost always do when a board pair is sent in here. So we're going to get a test report, time and date not set. We can easily set the time and date just to get rid of the credit dot. I'll just set it to that date, enter, and we are good to go. The issue with this board set was that it was resetting, and that's not what I want to do. So I did the standard things that I can do to address resetting. Let me do switch edges while I'm chatting. And those usually solve the problem here on my bench, and then I'll indicate to the client what they need to do on their end when they get the board back. Let's do some solenoid testing. But this board surprised me there as we watched these solenoids go through. After I had done the routine things that I do to a board pair where resetting is indicated. Also, Johnny Mnemonic uses the Fliptronics board for some of the other solenoids. Let's see, let's do GI. So after I had done the things that I do to prevent resets or reduce the probability of resets to the board, the darn thing still reset, but the reset was different. I could see that the 5-volt power was just becoming missing for those resets. Usually if you have a reset, you can see, you'll never see, there's the lamps and flashers working, you'll never see this LED, which indicates the presence of approximately 5 volts. You'll never see that thing blink or anything at all. You can't even catch a reset on a digital multimeter. So I thought, well, maybe the LM323K is bad. And even if it is delivering low voltage, I'll just install one of these easy SBCs. And these are adjustable via this tiny little screw right there. And see if I could get this board to return to normal function. Well, I put it back on the bench, very confident that I had licked this problem, and it reset. So I'm scratching my head and I'm thinking, holy cow, what else could this be? Well, my theory was that there was a fracture between incoming AC power, the red wires, and the fuse, which is the third one down, F113, I believe, and then the bridge, and then this filter cap, and then on to the regulator. So what I did was I removed the bridge that was in here, and somebody had already done that, so I had to make sure that prior work wasn't the real problem. And I put a new bridge in there, made sure that the work was solid. And I reflowed the solder on F113, and I replaced fuse F113. And it's back to normal operation. So I don't really suspect that reflowing the solder helped, because the joints looked good. I know you can't say it looked good. You could have buzzed that joint, even with the fuse in, and it was still would have checked out okay. My suspicion was that the fuse was internally broken, and it was making just long enough, or it was making most of the time, to allow 5-volt power to be created. And then periodically it would just wig out. Do I have 100% proof of that? No, I do not. So I thought that's a great thing to add to the pin wiki in the reset section. So I went over there to add it, and then found out I had already added that several years ago. So I'm relearning some of the stuff that I used to know, or I used to remember from back in the day. She's good to go. Here's the voltages. I dialed that to 5.1. That's a nice solid voltage that even if there's other draws on the 5-volt power, should be okay. And then the regulated 12 is at 11.9, 15.5 for the unregulated 12, 21.7 for the flash lamp power, and about 74 for the coil power. And again, coil power in the schematics and on the silk screen says 50 volts, but on a WPC system, it's always 70 or so volts. So those are just fine. So this board pair is now good to go. I also let these things run for about 5 hours on 2 separate occasions and came back and tested them. The next day I came back and tested them cold, and they worked fine, and I just tested them cold just now. So I'm pretty confident that I've got this one licked. Thank you so much for sending them.